Welcome to Universal Marine Center, where excellence is not just expected, it's delivered. Your yacht deserves world-class care. Whether it's mechanical services, advanced refits, or top-tier marine solutions, our skilled professionals ensure your vessel is always in peak condition. Strategically located in Fort Lauderdale, we offer state-of-the-art facilities, expert craftsmanship, and seamless service. So you can focus on what matters most, enjoying the open water. From routine maintenance to major overhauls, we handle it all. Because when you demand the best, you trust Universal Marine Center. Excellence, expertise, efficiency, every service, every detail, every time. Universal Marine Center, where your yacht gets the care it deserves. Book your service today or visit our website at universalmarinecenter.com.
And welcome to episode 5 of the Richest podcast, where we talk about yachting, money, investing, and life. Today, I have the honor of having a good friend of mine, Leon Oosthuizen, on the show. And before we dig in, everybody, please remember to read the disclaimer. The show should not be mistaken as financial advice. This is purely informative and educational. With that being said, let's dig in. Welcome, Leon. Good afternoon out of South Africa.
How's it, Charl, bro? Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's been a long time coming. I think we're both avid podcast bros, and I'm glad we could make this work.
Yeah, I quite like that disclaimer because I'm pretty sure it's the first thing I told you when you asked for my financial advice. I said, I'm not a financial advisor. This is what I know. Use it if you wish, basically.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes the school of hard knocks teaches you more than certain degrees can. Just my personal opinion. But yeah, let's dig in. For those who don't know you, please tell us who you are, how you got into yachting, and what are you busy with now?
So, yeah, Leon Oosthuizen is the name they gave me at birth. Spent about roughly 2013 started, so about 9 years up until back end of 2021 on the super yachts. Started off as a day worker, as most boys on deck would, and worked my way up the ranks. And yeah, walked the whole journey, partied too much, made bad investment decisions, made good investment decisions, lost money, made money, and then yeah, retired from the shiny boats, hanged up my chamois end of 2021, and then been in Cape Town ever since, in a few ventures, mostly instructing RWA, MCA, maritime qualifications, obviously my TPIC consulting company that you know of, where I try and assist yachties with, purchasing a good property that's going to grow and make financial sense for them in Cape Town or Western Cape. Got my charity initiative, the Toebean Therapy Initiative, and I manage my own properties, obviously, that I still own out in Hermanus.
Amazing. Well, I would like to dissect each of those over the course of this episode, and also would like to touch on another passion we share, which is not yachting or money relevant, but endurance sports. You and I have an exciting adventure coming up with a very inspiring fellow yachty, and we'll also touch on that in the show. But first things first, let's get into the nuts and bolts of money psychology within yachting. You obviously spending near a decade at sea, and also mentioning very candidly that you made your own fair mistakes, partied too much, etc., etc. What do you think we can do to improve the general money psychology, money hygiene, and then just the lack of financial literacy amongst yachties? Boom.
So good question. Good question, really. Personally, I don't think I would have done as well as I had I not gone through the 4 or 5 years of splurging and then having kind of that regret that I splurged and not started earlier. And then because of that kind of regret, I made sure these investments were going to work. So stayed away from the really high risk stuff, kind of found my medium risk, and try to make sure they're going to pay off 80%, like only 20% risk out here, rather than going, oh, well, if I lose, I've still got another 8 years in Yachty to make the money back. I think just starting earlier, do research, listening to podcasts such as these. Me and you are both self-taught, I believe. I don't have any financial degree. But yet we've both done relatively well in terms of financial investing through different means. And basically it's because we're a big believer in, self-learning. I think a lot of people are scared about all of it. And then because there's fear, there's like, oh, I'll just pay someone who knows. At the end of the day, no financial advisor can predict what the market's going to do. No one can predict if, for your South African example, if load shedding is going to come back, what does that to the market and property value? And if no one can predict when the next COVID is going to hit. So at the end of the day, it's just to eliminate the fear of investing, because it's always like you hear stories of people losing money and all that. And of course, that's a risk, but also it's something you can manage. So basically start researching, start listening to podcasts, start asking people who have done something you'd like to achieve. So if you want a property portfolio in Cape Town, speak to someone with a property portfolio in Cape Town. It's kind of simple, but I do get the fear. I was very scared approaching a bank and asking for a mortgage, and I remember the nerves with all of it, and will they give me the money and all of that. But there's answers out there, and you don't have to, pay someone an arm and a leg to get the information, especially in the world we live in. 99% of it's online anyway.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I really resonate with something you said there about the first time it being pretty petrifying. And I remember you assisted me from A to Z with my first apartment purchase in Cape Town. And I mean, the amount of questions I asked you during the first one compared to the one I just went through is already day and night, because you kind of you need to get primed and used to certain concepts. And I get it, like for people, especially referring to South Africans now, we're often exposed to lower income situations and come from poverty-stricken areas. So when you suddenly open your Absa banking app and you see you owe the bank 2 million rand on a mortgage, it's kind of scary. But once you start educating yourself and learning that there is something like good debt and that you can leverage this and get someone else to pay your mortgage, then you're styling. You're smiling all the way to the bank. And tell me, Leon, how did you find the transition out of yachting onto land for those yachties that are contemplating hanging up the proverbial chamois?
It's hard. I didn't retire once. I think I retired about 3 times. It's hard simply because of the finances available. There is zero responsibility available. That there is. The zero expenses. It's just hard to walk away from it. A lot of people can't walk away from it purely because of their spending habits. So they spend about 3,000 euros a month. So, you're not going to come to South Africa and make that unless you're highly qualified. And I'm assuming if you're in yachting, it's because you aren't highly qualified to earn that kind of money in a career landside. So, it's been hard. You really have to find a reason to be off the boat. Otherwise, you'll go back. What I mean by that is find what makes you happy. Because a lot of times, yachting's fun, but I wouldn't say it always makes you happy. It makes you happy because you realize you're getting paid so much compared to anything else you would do in life. But at a certain point, also money plays a certain role in your life, and other factors play another role. So make sure you're leaving it for something else, basically. So make sure you're going, and then there's something else that you want to pursue that sets your soul on fire, or a dream or a goal or whatever. Something, another calling that makes you more happier than currently where you are. And then ignore the money, because you're not going to make as much money on land. You are going to have to pay rent. You are going to pay all these things. You are going to have to buy your own shampoo and food and all that. Make peace with it, because that's not the point. The point is, I've chosen this other thing. It makes me get up in the morning going, I want to do this. And then grow it. Don't stay static, because as soon as something maybe fails landside, you go, that's it, I tried, and then back to the boats. So you have to stay committed to it, because it's not going to be easy to start. For example, if you're trying to start a business, there's going to be a lot of setbacks, and you might flunk it the first year. But the second year, the third year, the lucky part is you should have some capital to, keep you above water for a while if you've done any yachting for a certain period of time. So you've bought yourself that time, essentially. So then go through that time, go through the hard time, commit to it, stay committed. And with anything in life, the more effort that's put in, the harder you work, et cetera, it gets rewarded at the end of the day. It's kind of like the rule of life, isn't it? Oh, not always, but generally. Basically find something that you really want to do. Don't go, I'm just bored of yachting and I want to do something else. You got to have something that really makes you want to not go back to kind of the carefree life you have on the boats.
That's so important. And I think that's where the golden handcuffs term comes from, because people aren't working with the end in mind, and a very select few actually do end up doing this career for a long, long time. And those that do, yes, you might be smiling in your bank, but your personal life and the balance in all other departments tend to take the hit. And then there's obviously a bunch of asset classes one can choose to invest in. There's a lot of avenues to explore if you do want to exit yachting. Why did you decide on short-term rental market predominantly?
So I'm in the fortunate position that I come from a very small town in South Africa called Hermanus. It's arguably the busiest tourist town in South Africa, I think, if I look at pure numbers. So for me, it just made sense to go out there where I knew I was going to have the foot traffic to do short-term rental compared to long-term tenants. You could do long-term tenants there because that's also a really scarce market just to stay out in Hermanus. There just isn't property available and the town's only so big. So I just knew because of the foot traffic that I would hopefully succeed. I was also hoping. I didn't know too much initially about the algorithms with Airbnb, Booking.com, all the different platforms, maximize them, how to maximize marketing. All of this was trial and error. So where I am now, I'm highly qualified. I think my 3 places, I looked at my 2024 occupancy rates and it's at 79%. So essentially almost 80% full every month. But it took time. Basically I did research. I looked at the numbers. heading to Hermanus, I looked at why people came, and it was generally for 2-3 days, spot the whales, do the wine tours, and then move on to the garden route and the other beautiful parts of the Cape. I also needed to assist my mom with a income, and obviously having her as an agent run all my short-term letting out there. It kind of was like 2 birds with 1 stone. And then, just ended up being really successful and implementing and redoing and renovating at the right time, and reshooting your photos and all the things to get higher up on the algorithms to get booked started coming into place. So essentially that's why I went with the short-term letting property profile instead of just kind of acquiring the property and then having people essentially, like you say, pay off the mortgage. It's more profitable this way, but it's a hell of a lot more work. So I got full-time 3 cleaners. My mom is my agent. You got to deal, obviously, with all the guest queries, complaints. There's a lot of email admin. And things break more often when you have people. You got 60 people coming into a 1-bedroom apartment a month, then stuff needs more replacing and more wear and tear. So yeah.
And on that note, for yachties interested in the short-term rental market, I personally decided to pivot to long-term rentals purely for the reasons you mentioned now, for the admin in place. However, I do know that it is definitely possible. So for yachties listening to this now, with busy work schedules that are living at sea, what are some recommendations you can give them if they want to get into the short-term rental market without being located there?
So there's lots of management companies. Some better than others. Basically, it's trial and error. I have recommended, I think initially when you were thinking about it, I recommended a few this side, and I said it's your call. I hate telling people going, use them, purely because whatever, I'll get a kickback or whatever if I'm not personally using them. So I think there are management companies out there. A lot of them have raving reviews. So some of them are really good for me as a yachty or ex-yachty is because most of it is on your phone on an app. I mean, that's perfect. You can see the money coming in when the coffee machine broke. You can see the receipts on your platform that they bought a new coffee machine for you, et cetera, et cetera. You can see how many days are booked. You can block out days for when you're in Cape Town and want to use it. So, I mean, it's become all the platforms have their own app. And I think as a yachty to have access to that kind of information on the fly on your phone is amazing. And I would definitely then go with the management companies that have the best kind of IT software, because it just gives you that peace of mind. Like you get a little notification and okay, well, there's a booking that's 1,200 Rand in my pocket, or whatever the case may be.
That's great. And to close out the property chat, what would you say was your what was your hardest lesson you've learned during your property portfolio build?
Estate agents are the devil. No, I overpaid for my first 2, definitely. And then the third one, I was like, hold on. You can't keep knocking your head. Because I had the knowledge of the first 2's purchases, I managed to get it definitely under market value, the third one, and use kind of the elements, which was COVID at the time, to my advantage, knowing that some people needed money. I had surplus money. Desperation, needs must, value you hold on the property has now dropped because you need money. So the harshest lesson was trusting an estate agent to give me value on a property or a true value reflection, and then later learning that was a 300,000 Rand expense that had I had myself 5 years down the line, I probably wouldn't have made. Definitely the hardest lesson was taking people's word at value, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants a slice of the pie, and to the non-South African listeners, 300,000 rand, we're talking about what, 18,000 dollars. So it's not a small oopsie. Um, but luckily, there's a select few people out there that truly add value to others. Leon, you truly are one of them, because you kind of taught me the lessons you learned early on, and I was lucky enough to avoid many mistakes early on in my property portfolio journey. So thank you for that. Now I want to pivot away from yachting and money, and talk about something that you and I have in common, which is endurance sports. You're lucky enough to be situated in Cape Town, so your daily run is definitely a lot nicer than ours here in South Florida. um, we have a big adventure coming up. Why don't you tell the listeners what's about to transpire in Arizona come the first week of April?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, you are partaking in Helgi Olafson's 300-mile ultra going through the Sonoran Desert. We'll be pacing him and then assisting him on that massive venture to get him over the finish line through some gnarly elements. Like, I've never really done any desert running. I've read up about the size of the scorpions and stuff there, so should be interesting, and fighting coyotes off and all that. So yeah, we'll be joining Helgi and running large parts of his second half of the race with him, and just trying to enjoy that experience and soak it all in and learn from someone, like what it takes to get over the finish line. For me, endurance sports came later into my life, kind of post 29, 30, and it ties in with everything in life, really. Like, life is always going to be, there's going to be shit and there's going to be tough and hard, but then how you deal with it is determined of how successful you will be. So same with a run. There's going to be parts that are just shit and hard and you want to stop. But that's life. There's days, and the more you put yourself in an example where you're uncomfortable, it's shit, it's hard, it's pain, the more that environment doesn't upset you when you find yourself in life anymore. You're like, hold on, I've been here before. I can get through this. So yeah, that's just my kind of take of endurance racing. We are also doing a fundraising, because obviously Helgi suffers from, I say obviously, I forgot we're not just talking to each other. Helgi suffers from inkling spondylitis, which is a motor neuron kind of arthritis that attacks your joints. Essentially, if you don't move, your body seizes up and everything becomes really painful. So hence why he likes to move so much. So yeah, it's quite an inspiring story, quite an inspiring dude. I'm flying over from South Africa to partake. My charity initiative, Toebean's Therapy, is running a competition to help raise funds for the documentary and the Ankylosing Spondylitis Association of America. And if you guys would like to learn more, I'm sure we'll put the handles out and all that. But essentially, you can buy a mile of Helgi's 300-mile race, and then there'll be some awesome prizes up for grabs, because there'll be prize winners decided on different metrics. So, for example, his fastest mile or his slowest mile, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, in terms of yachting, I mean, it's me, you, Ben, and Helgi are all from the shiny boat. So it's pretty much a yachty effort. So I think if there are any yachties who'd like to know more and get involved, it's really a story about people like you just to walk around with a chamois or scrub teak and all that, doing something different and something really cool.
I haven't been excited for anything like this in quite a long time. And I think it's important sometimes that things like this get done to break the stigma that's been created by certain other television programs about what the yachties actually do. Like, yes, we're busy. Yes, I work on a pretty busy charter boat, but if there's something that lights your fire, you will make time to make it work. I'm a firm believer in that, and it's a lot easier when you have someone like Algie and yourself and others to keep you accountable, and knowing that, yes, you're about to endure something pretty painful and uncomfortable. But if you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, then all the other small things in life seem like much less of a hassle. But we did Alkie's first ultra marathon that he organized in summer of 2024 in North Carolina. It was the Capture the Flags Ultra. It was 60-kilometer race with like 3.5 kilometers elevation. And I remember after that being so sore that Ben, my deckhand, had to push me around in a wheelchair in the Charlotte airport. And so when I got back to South Florida, sitting in traffic, which used to normally really piss me off, just seemed like such an insignificant problem to have after going through a certain amount of suffering. So there's a lot to be said about the mental fortitude you gain from these events. And Toebean's therapy, you mentioned that briefly, that you guys are helping raising funds for awareness for ankylosing spondylitis. What sparked that? Why Toebean's therapy? Tell us a bit about that.
So yeah, Toebean's therapy initiative. What did it stem from? So I was training quite seriously, and when you do start training quite seriously, you start making a lot of sacrifices in terms of other things in life. But then your sole focus becomes training, and when you get injured and you can't train anymore, and that was your goal, you kind of have nothing to get you up, because you kind of sacrifice everything else. So you're not pursuing anything else in life that seriously as you're pursuing this goal. And now this goal is just on pause because life happens, right? Injuries happen, is what it is. So I had to kind of go and sit and go like, well, why did I start running in the first place? Why did I start ultra running? Why did I start trail running? And it was essentially like when I adopted my rescue dog, Liam, when he was a puppy. So dogs can't run until they're fully grown, until 1. So I had to wait for him to be 1 year old before he could run with me. But then I was like, well, he's going to be able to outrun me. I need to get into shape. I need to start running. So then the year from when he was basically a puppy, I started getting really into my running and coaching and nutrition and stretching and like all the factors that go into essentially trying to be a professional athlete as an amateur. And then, I got a big injury. And once you reach like a certain fitness level and like you're busy, like on the weekend, you're doing like marathons in the mountain as training runs, and you have to start back at like running 3 kilometers at a time. It's really demotivating knowing that your body used to be able to conquer peaks for morning effort and then have a coffee there and then come back down. To now, it's a struggle to basically walk up a flight of stairs. So I kind of needed my why to be stronger again. And then I realized, well, if you can run for something more than yourself, to prove things to yourself, your own ego, you kind of stay more committed to the process. And when the process seems harder and tougher and shitter, it's a lot easier to stay dedicated if you have a why that's a lot bigger than your ego. So then thought about it, and then my sister was like, well, what are you going to do? So, well, I'm trying to raise funds through doing an endurance event. I'm going to do the Cape Town Trail Marathon and try and raise funds for Oscar Zark, where is a which is the dog adoption agency I got Liam from. And then, raised 11,000 or 12,000 rand. That's like $500, $600 for them in a 6-week campaign. And felt really good while I was running. I felt really happy about why I was running. I wasn't looking at my watch. I wasn't worried about pace. I just felt strong. And when the pain came, I was able to move past it because it wasn't about me. I need to finish this race because the winners need to get chosen because I committed to doing this event, and the money's been given in accordance with me finishing it. So basically that's where it stems from.
That's a very, very good initiative, and I really look forward to see how this all unfolds. And you're right, if you select a cause that's much bigger than yourself and your own Strava stats, things just get framed a bit differently. So kudos to you, and hopefully we can really support raising funds for this upcoming venture with Helgi via Toebean. And then to close us out, I'm going to hit you with a few rapid fire questions. All right. Are you ready? Okay. One sentence of advice for aspiring property investors.
Use me.
Love it.
No,
plug.
Get your paperwork in order so you can strike when the market's right.
And paperwork, he's referring to things you need for a bond, etc., etc. One thing you miss and one thing you don't miss about yachting.
The food. And then 18-hour shifts. I certainly don't miss being sleep deprived.
Yeah, absolutely normal. Give us one funny Airbnb guest experience.
Actually, the other day, so the ex-boyfriend showed up to the booking. So they made the booking when they were still together. And then the ex-boyfriend showed up and my mom or my agent checked him in. And then when the girlfriend arrived with another friend, it was all a little bit awkward, and they were very upset at my mom for letting all three parties in, and she kind of had to figure out what to do. But I thought that was quite funny, seeing as they made the booking and they were together, and then life happens, and that was quite funny.
That's a comical one. And where can people follow you, your experiences, all your various ventures? How can people connect with you?
All right. Well, basically, if they do, I'm Leon Oosthuizen on Instagram. Under my Leon Oosthuizen page, there's links to all my other ventures and businesses. If you want property advice or anything along those lines, it's the Passive Income Company, which is at TPIC South Africa on Instagram. If you want to learn more about Toebeans, that's at Toebeans Therapy on Instagram. And if you're curious to check out my property profile, that's at Whale Rock Apartments on Instagram.
Great stuff. Well, Leon, I thank you for your time today. Also, thank you for being my personal management agent in Cape Town, even though you don't get paid for it. You're a good dude. One day it will come back to you. And good luck with the preparation over the next month. And I will see you in Arizona for a Sufferfest like we've never experienced before.
Yeah, man, all good. You can make it up to me when we get to that side. See if we can go to Cali afterwards, if we can still walk. But yeah, man, thanks for having me, and all the best, and I'll see you soon.
Amazing. Thanks, Leon.